Good evening. Please, you will have to be patient with me. I am not the best public speaker. Never have been. What can I say? I can't even tie a rope around my head. That's me. The same old Moses. What, you were expecting Charlton Heston, maybe? No. I wish I could have been like him, but I was not. The pastor was telling this little boy over here about an amazing story in my life, how I encountered God himself, who asked me to go down to Egypt and set the people free. And I said to him, that's not a good idea. For 40 years I've been out here. You know my story. The Hebrews were growing strong in the land of Goshen. And so the Pharaoh, Ramses, wanted to eliminate them as a possible military threat. So he sent his troops out into the land to kill every baby boy. My mother put me in a wicker basket, covered it with pitch, and pushed me out into the river. And as I floated down the Nile, I came into this little cove where a young lady was bathing. Turns out she was the princess. And she saw this basket and said, hey, look, there's a basket. And so she went and she got the basket and brought it in, opened it up, and it was me. And she said, now this is how you get pregnant and have a baby. I'm going to take him as my own son. I took him out of the water, so I will call him, I took him out of the water. In Hebrew, Moshe. In English, Moses. And so I grew up in the palace, but was never really quite accepted by the Egyptians because they knew that I was not one of them. And then one day there was a quarrel, I intervened and wound up killing a man. Fearing for my life, at the age of 40, I ran out into the desert and spent the next 40 years of my life there until God came to me and said, go, I have a job for you. And I'm thinking to myself, I am not qualified to do this job. It's going to overwhelm me. And God said, that's okay. You go, and I'll go with you. Take your stick, and that can be your sign of my authority with you. And I said, now wait a minute. Wait just a minute here. If I go down there, and I say to the people, hello people, I'm here to set you free. God has sent me. They're going to say, God who? What is his name? And I'm going to say, I don't know. So, what is your name? And God said, I am. Okay, I am what? I am powerful. I am the master of an army. I mean, I am. What kind of a name is that? Who puts that on a resume? And God simply says, I am that I am. You tell them I am sent you. And that's all they need to know. You know the story. I went down there. I talked to the Pharaoh. He said, no way, I let the people go because we have good slave labor here. And so I told him, do not argue with my God, for my God is stronger than yours. But the problem was, look, I don't know what to say. I'm not a very good speaker, you know? It reminds me of a story about a man who was selling Bibles door to door. And he had a bad speech impediment. Yet he was the greatest salesman in the history of the company. And the manager said to him, how are you able to bring in such record sales? And the man said, I go to the door, and when they answer, I say, I have Bibles. Do you want me to read it to you, or will you buy one? They always buy. So I tried that trick with God to see if I could get out of the job. And he said, no, your brother's got a big mouth. Take Aaron with you. And so we went, and you know the rest of the story. The people were set free. We come down to the river, the Red Sea. Pharaoh's coming up behind us, and all the people are saying, oh, great rescuer you are. You lead us out here to die. So God told me what to do. Reach out my arms over the water. And the water separated, and the people went through. And when they were done, he told me to put my arms down. And by that time, the Egyptians were in the riverbed, and the water drowned them all. And God did many things like that to us. We had no food, he gave us food. We had no meat, he gave us meat. But one day, one very embarrassing day, God said to me, the people have no water. I want you to talk to this rock and command water to come from it. I was afraid. I didn't think I could do it. So instead, I hit the rock with my stick, and the water came out. But God said to me, because you didn't have faith, you will not be permitted to enter the promised land. At least I got to see it. Here's the point. On this day in the church year, you'll remember that you have a God who is with you always. And when things get difficult for you, God is there. And when things are too big for you to handle, God will help you carry them. And when you feel unqualified for the task of telling people about God, God will qualify you. God will equip you. What a special thing it is to have God on our side. Amen.
Amen.